Are you sick and tired of getting one-tapped game after game after game? Chances are your movement is to blame. When comparing aim and movement, you'll notice most players are fascinated by the first and tend to not care too much about the latter. And hey, that makes sense. A nice flick is much more clippable than a round-winning jump peek, but it also means that many players have pretty sloppy movement. In practice, movement mistakes are often easy to avoid, yet still find their way into even high-ranked lobbies, resulting in many losses that could have and arguably should have been avoided. In this video, we'll discuss 4 of those movement mistakes, so let's take the right steps and fix up your movement. And real quick before the video, if you're currently below Radiant and you want to move your way up the ranked ladder, I have a crazy offer for you. My team of Radiant coaches and I can help you with our 10-week premium coaching program that offers a 500 RR rank up guarantee or your money back. That's right. If you don't see results with our coaching, you don't pay. Some of our coaches include Milan, the analyst on Ascend when they won champs in 2021, and Screwface, the 6th man on EG when they won champs in 2023. To find out more and see if we'd be a good fit, use the link in the description below to book a free strategy call. Hurry, because we maxed out all the spots for our previous season, and we've just opened up 60 more spots for season 19. When you enter a gunfight, you're probably only thinking about one thing: how do I win this duel? However, many people don't realize that the 2 implicit approaches are relevant when trying to answer this question. Should you focus on making your own shots easier to hit or making those of your opponents more difficult? The answer is not actually so black and white, leading many people to take the wrong approach. Let me go more in depth about this. Making your own shots easier helps you by giving yourself an easier time landing your shots, but oftentimes it can come at the cost of making you an easier target as well. In contrast, making your opponent's shots harder means they're less likely to kill you, or at least that it'll take them longer to kill you. But that may come at the cost of making your own shots tougher as well. For example, if you only care about making yourself hard to hit, you might decide to bunny hop around the corner and start doing 360s. Sure, you would be a super annoying target, but it won't win you the round unless you have your duo behind you. The opposite is true as well. You can shift peek every angle scoped in, which might make your shots a bit easier, but if you do that, you're giving your enemies a big advantage as you'll be incredibly slow on their screen. If you had to choose between one of the 2 evils mentioned above, it's better to make yourself an easy target while hitting your own shots. The reason for that is that Valorant is still a team game. Even if you successfully make an enemy miss to prolong the duel, you also give your opponent's teammates more time to rotate. For example, when you're attacking, what would you rather have? 2 quick 1v1s or 1 long 2v1? The answer, of course, should be 2 1v1s. However, making yourself an easy target is still a mistake. That means you have to find a sweet spot in the middle of the 2 extremes. In practice, this often means you either hit people with a clean tight peek to slice the pie and not peek multiple angles at once, or if you know exactly where the enemy is, a simple wide peek. Any adjustments you can make that make your own shots easier without sacrificing the likelihood of you getting killed yourself are good adjustments. And the opposite applies as well. In general, avoid bad habits like peeking angles too slowly or while being scoped in. Also, don't complicate things by trying to make yourself invincible. Just try to find a good middle ground. If you're peeking angles correctly but are still struggling, chances are you've fallen into a different common pitfall. Of course, knowing that you clicked on a video about movement mistakes, you kind of know where this is headed. But actually, this mistake is also really tied to your aim, though I'll get into that. When you check out YouTube, read online Valorant guides, or even watch Valorant's own streams, you can probably relate to getting absolutely bombarded with the advice to get into aim labs and get to work. And to be honest, that kind of makes sense. Having solid aim trainers available is kind of a new thing, and if you use them right, they can be a huge asset to your gameplay. The problem is most people either do not use them at all, or if they do use them, there's a huge chance they're using them wrong, and it's massively hurting their movement. Kovacs, AimLab, and other aim trainers are easily the best tools to efficiently work on your raw aim as an isolated skill. There's no comparison if you compare it to something like Deathmatch, where you only get a fight every 10 seconds. When using aim trainers, you have much more intensive drills and more control when it comes to difficulty level compared to something like the range. Plus, tons of great free resources are available, like my free Kovacs routine, which you can find inside my Discord server. So yes, aim training isn't without purpose, but it's also easy to go overboard with it. When Valorant is played at a high level, aim and movement work together hand in hand. Movement is used to complement aiming, and aiming itself naturally flows with your movement. When you often use an aim trainer, however, you may be prone to focus too much on your aim and neglect your own movement. This happens quite often in the mid to low ranks, and any good player will be able to spot it right away. When your aim and movement are disconnected, it often appears that you're fighting your own movement. When you're moving to the left or right, it takes considerable effort to keep your crosshair where it's supposed to go, and you're having a hard time maintaining proper crosshair placement. If you want to test how connected your aim and movement are, a pretty good drill is usually to track a target while moving around in the range. Try to mostly use A or D key in isolation so that you're often going at full speed, but also mix in some diagonal movement every now and then to make sure you're also familiar there. If this is a difficult drill for you, chances are you're not entirely comfortable with your aim and movement regarding Valorant yet. Sometimes this is simply because you're fairly new, but if you've been playing for a while and you still find yourself aim training a lot, chances are you're not improving as efficiently as you might think you are. Of course, as I already mentioned, deathmatches aren't the most effective regarding raw engagements per second, but they will teach you how to play and move around in Valorant, which aim trainers will never be able to do. If moving and looking around Valorant doesn't feel as easy and intuitive as it does in real life, you need to spend more time in game to truly get comfortable before heading into your next hour-long aim trainer session. In a similar vein, I think we can all relate to seeing our favorite pro or streamer hit a crazy clip, making us instantly want to hop on Valorant to try and do the same. And generally, that's a good thing. In fact, most of the time, it's even a very good idea to try and mimic the pros. But in this case, with movement, you might just be shooting yourself in the foot without realizing it. Let me explain. Pros are often able to execute things at lightning quick speeds. Their flicks are near instant, and it all seems like it hardly takes any effort. That's exactly where you can go wrong. Many people try to imitate the speed and think that the more they practice it, the quicker they'll be with their flicks, and the faster they'll be able to get that crucial first shot off. And sure, it's not untrue that you'll probably be shooting first, but it's important to realize that that's not what pros use to get so fast. And you'll see that soon enough as you start whiffing every shot imaginable for two crucial reasons. First, the pros develop their fast aim by practicing their flicks and aim for thousands of hours. It's not their first rodeo, and much like any other new skill, you have to learn the basics first before getting really good at it. It's not the truth that you might want to hear, but it is true. You can't shortcut lightning quick flicks, and trying to force yourself to do so will really hamper your long-term aiming progress. And perhaps you already felt it coming since you've seen the title of the video, but trying to take things too fast also affects your movement. Much like aim, good movement takes some time to develop, and if you're trying to perform at pro level speeds with gold level movement, you'll make mistakes. You might end up firing while your movement hasn't come to a full stop yet, and overall, you're just not going to give yourself the time and calmness to properly aim and stop. Finally, a bit more of an advanced movement tip. Think about the way you're pathing. Proper pathing is something that you'll get better at with time, but it's definitely also an extremely important skill to learn. First, you need to know all the maps by heart. You have to know what's around each corner and where common enemy positions are. But once you have that down, one of the easiest ways to get good at pathing is to watch a lot of pro games or streams and pay close attention to how they move as you copy their movements around the map. For example, you might notice they take different paths to certain early positions like attackers nest on icebox. If you notice any differences, you should ask yourself why. Maybe going into a custom game and checking it out with a friend is a good idea. In the case of attackers nest, for example, pathing through the lower area, you'll likely expose yourself to a tough duel with a readily waiting operator, whereas pathing up first followed by a drop down means you'll be making a bit more noise, but you'll also get to your position sooner and without the need to expose yourself to an angry jet staring you down. There are many more examples like this, so by watching pros carefully, you can learn new pathing routes that don't expose yourself to certain oppressive angles, and you're going to be able to learn how to isolate your duels more effectively. Oh, and as a general rule of thumb, in case you don't feel like studying every entry pathing of all the pros, there are also a few things you can use for any map. First, unless you're trying to wide swing, try not to place yourself too close to objects, as enemies that are further away might be able to see your arm or shoulder peek out without you even seeing them. Furthermore, maybe it goes without saying, but try not to make yourself an easy target for enemy operators and try not to peek multiple new angles at the same time. If you need to take a step back to reposition slightly before peeking your next angle, offer yourself that luxury. Your enemies won't thank you for it, but you are giving yourself a much easier time that way. And that'll do it for now. If you have any more questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.